Yeah, well, I'm Justin Greenidge. I am 20 years old. I grew up in Colorado. I've been born and raised in Colorado. I started climbing about 2 years ago. You know, when I first walked in, I was like, Dad, why did you take me to like a museum? Like, what is this stuff? You know, what's on the walls? But no, I knew a little more than that. But I definitely walked in and I was kind of like, whoa, like this is crazy because it's all new. You know, you walk into a gym the first time and you see a bunch of colors on the wall and you're like, what does anything mean? You know, it's a whole new like learning curve. And so, yeah, we definitely, you know, I asked a lot of questions at the front desk. My dad definitely pushed me on to. He was like, you know, go ask him, go see what it's about, because he was just like psyched for me to be psyched on it, you know? And so that first moment when I walked in, I was definitely like, it was almost like a culture shock, but not really, because like, you know, obviously it's a gym, but it was eye-opening for sure. It was like picking up a whole new book that you have never even like heard about, read about, tells a completely different story, and it was really incredible. It really pushes you, at least it pushes me to like better myself as just like a person in a way. It's like, it's a sport that shows you what you're capable of in this moment, but what you're, you know, even more, you know, what you're capable of more in the future. It's like, it shows you like, hey, this is where you are now, but here's the progress that you've made, right? And here's the progress that you can make. And it's really a progressive, yeah, it's a really beautiful experience to kind of feel as if you are working out, but also gaining this improvement of yourself.
What gets you up in the morning to do this? Like, what's big picture? What's going through your mind?
Definitely drive. You know, drive. Like I want to be better. You know, I want to improve. I want to achieve. You know, in climbing we call it grade chasing. I think everyone's a bit of a grade chaser. That's where you want the next highest grade that you could achieve. So let's say you currently climb like V6 or V7 and you really want to get that V8, whether it's indoors or outdoors. And it's like that I really want to get because you know, to modernize the saying, so to speak, it's like leveling up, right? And so it's kind of like, it's really engaging on that idea of just like wanting the next thing. But on top of that, I think like passion, you know, once you really get into it, not only are there just people you constantly want to see and be with, but there's also just a lot of passion to just get in there. You know, as people do wake up at 4 a.m. and work out, you know, I view climbing as like my workout, right? It's like a full body workout, especially if you're really going like 4 times a week or whatever. I mean, that's like, yeah, I mean, it's basically just a calisthenics workout. You know, that's also part of that drive, is just knowing that what you're getting out of it is good for you. You know, it's improving you, not only physically, but mentally, especially mentally. I think that's the part of it a lot of people don't recognize right away, is that climbing is a lot more mental training than physical, for sure. You know, when it comes to mental training, that is and always will be kind of one of the hardest things to approach, just because it's all different for every single person. But for me personally, what that looks like is really just having the ability to improve your confidence, but not so high to the point where you're cocky. You know, it's understanding that what you're capable of physically is going to be higher than what you're capable of mentally. You're always going to psych yourself out, or you're always going to bring yourself down a little bit mentally before you're physically out of luck. And so I think the idea is really trying to bring that mental and physical level to an even plane, and learning that, you know, even if you're not capable of it, the biggest lesson that I've learned in climbing is that while the community is the best part of it, there is no greater friend that you'll meet than failure itself in climbing. And that is definitely true. You know, climbing is 99% failure. And if you're not willing to accept that, improvement is going to be hard. Every boulder you get on, whether it's like some hard V4 or, you know, V8 or, man, even like V12 or 14, whatever it may be, I don't know. It deserves respect. You know, it's a really beautiful piece of rock that like has been there so much longer than you have, and somebody took time out of their day to, you know, establish some really cool movement on that rock. or sometimes not good movement, but at least, you know, a straight up way of getting up that rock. And so I think it all kind of starts with just respect and understanding that, like, hey, where we are right now is a great place to be. And so it's taking the time of to appreciate where you are, but then also being able to just kind of snap in and be like, all right, like, I'm gonna do this. I'm capable of doing this, you know? When it comes to like warming up, training, especially mentally, I really take my time, and I like to calm myself, especially before getting on the wall. Let's say I've done my warm up and all that. I really take my time, and before getting on the wall, I'm about to give some send goes. I actually sit at the boulder for maybe like 20 seconds, and I just like breathe. I just get my head at a nice steady beat, and my heart at a beat, and I try to calm myself as much as possible.
What sort of advice do you have for beginners?
I love this one because, you know, as someone who's only been climbing for like 2.5 years, I'm like, gosh, I'm still so young in this climbing scene, you know? I'm like considered, I don't even know, like I'm still considered new to it all, you know? And there's always going to be learning, but I think some of the biggest advice I have, especially for like if you're wanting to get into it or if you're just getting into it, it's like find a good community. I think that was the biggest one, is that like I found people who were better than me right off the bat, and that, like, I am forever grateful for, because, you know, that helped me not only improve so much faster, but it put me in my place. You know, I think especially for some people, you know, climbing can easily be something where you maybe feel fast improvement or you don't feel fast improvement, so you either get discouraged or you get really encouraged, but it's really easy, I think, as humans, to just get ahead of ourselves. And so I think climbing with people who not only inspire you to just improve, but also can kind of put you in your place respectfully, is really valuable. But most importantly, yeah, community. I mean, that, like, I'll always say that people are, you know, especially the community, that's what got me psyched. That's what got me really, really into it. For your first year, just learn to get super psyched on climbing. That's the big one, is like, and a year sounds like a lot, but it goes by fast if you're actually really psyched. You know, I'm like, looking back, I'm like, wow, that was definitely one of the greatest things I was told, was like, don't worry about improving or training, or, you know, you can take it at your own pace, whatever you want to do. But I really encourage people to just enjoy the sport, learn to enjoy the sport, because if you're accepting failure as your teacher, it's going to be really discouraging most of the time. You're going to get knocked down quite a lot, and that isn't a good feeling, and that's going to turn people away. And so learning to just be psyched on that next grade or that next project. That's not too bad.
I hope we've inspired you to explore. And of course, feel free to check out the links below for specific information on recreation resources, our guests, and our partners. Also, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Until we see you next time, be sure to wreck yourself.
Growing up, you know, I was the youngest of four siblings, and my only escape from them, because they're like all much taller than me, was climbing the cabinets and the refrigerator. So growing up, you know, I was like always climbing stuff, but I wasn't like, never looked at it as like a sport or like a passion of mine until I was 18. So.